Beautiful people, it is me, EL, your favorite dyslexic book nerd. And I have got a wonderful guest with me today. You guys are going to be excited because I'm excited. All right, so let's get into it. I have DeAndra Davis, the author of The Lovers, the Liars, and Me. I always keep mixing those two words up.
Fair.
How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I am awesome. Let me tell you. So I did a deep dive into your bio,
You did.
and
Oh
and,
no.
and I saw that the Witcher. You're a massive fan of um anything from The Witcher to Attack of the Titans.
Yeah, Attack on Titan. Oh my God. Yeah, I love anime and I love video games. Those are like two of the biggest things that I do in my free time. And so for me, like The Witcher, especially, it's one of my favorite game franchises. And I loved it. Like I played through like all of the endings of The Witcher 2.
Ooh,
And it has 16 different endings, so that should tell you something. For The Witcher 3, I just went for like a completionist run, but I also wanted to get like the really, really good ending, so I just made sure I made like all of the best decisions, but I tried not to use a guide either. So I just like really wanted a good ending, so I just had to think a lot about how that was gonna look. Um, and so yeah, no, I love video games. I love games where like choices like have consequences. And that's kind of how The Witcher is. That's how like Mass Effect is. That's another one of my favorite games, Dragon Age, the Dragon Age franchise. So I love video games like that. And then yeah, with anime, Attack on Titan's my favorite anime. It's very bleak, but also very amazing. Just the story from a storytelling perspective. Attack on Titan is a masterwork in storytelling. I tell people all the time that it is such a masterwork in storytelling. It is like the prime example of someone who knew exactly how they wanted to end something. And so everything from the beginning is working towards the ending. Like you could tell that he knew exactly where he wanted to end it. And I think that that's amazing. I love anything where you can tell that the ending is purposeful. And so I just love stories like that. And so for me, a lot of video game stories, like yeah, I'm just obsessed with stories like that. That's also why like one of my favorite TV shows, interestingly enough, is This Is Us.
really?
Yeah, because I don't normally like dramas, but This Is Us is another show where they knew exactly where they wanted to end it, and everything that they did from the beginning of the show was purposeful to work towards the ending. And I just love craft in such a way that like I love when people are so purposeful with their stories.
That's one of my wife's favorite shows. I think I watched like one episode. I might have to tap back in.
I think it's like okay, so like it's very dramatic. It's very, very dramatic. It's very sad. You're probably gonna cry. Like I just feel like everybody has to cry at least once watching that show. But I think it's just like I think for me, because I'm always thinking about like from that craft aspect of it, and I just love that idea of like everything that you did. Like there are things that they did in the last episode that they had to have shot way at the beginning, and they knew that they needed it for the last episode. And that's just so I just love purposeful storytelling. So that's the reason why I love stuff like that. But yeah, but like for me, most of the time, that's not like what I'm watching all the time. But yeah, no, anime like I watch anime with my kids. Like I've indoctrinated my husband and my children too, and so and so we'll watch anime together, and we'll all just like get together and like huddle up and watch. We just watch Solo Leveling, and we're just plotting on what we're gonna watch next.
I love it. I love it. My two oldest sons, they're into, and they grown men now, but they are definitely into anime. It and it's funny that you say that you like stories that are purposeful,
Hmm.
and you definitely pick that up in The Lovers, Liars, and Me. Right? Is I definitely get that same feel through the book.
Thank you.
Definitely. Now this is your second book,
Hmm.
right? And your first book it was it was what's the word I'm looking for? It was well received, right? So did you have like the sophomore jitters in writing this book? You know how it goes, like your first book's really good and then
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I think everyone who knows me knows that I was terrified. Because, and I think it's funny too because I think, and this is gonna sound so strange, but I think the more that my first book won, the more scared I got.
Mhm.
The more scared I got because I was like, oh my God, I'm never gonna be able to live up to like I'm never gonna be able to live up to this. Like I'm never gonna be able to do anything like this ever again. Like this is it. I'm gonna peak. This is the I was like, this is like the equivalent of like the writing version of peaking in high school, right? Like that was what I was so scared of with my first book. So it was like the better it did, the more I got scared for the second one. And the
Mhm.
more I was like worried about how it was going to be received or if people would receive it well or like if people didn't receive it well, like how would that look? How would that be for me? And so I was worried. I was worried. And I think I don't know. I think so far so good. So that's good. But I don't
Definitely.
know. I think it is hard. I think it's hard to want to. It's harder when you're competing with other people mentally because I think with my first book, I think it was other external pressures. I was trying to live up to other external things, and now I feel like I'm just kind of trying to compete with myself, and trying to do better than I did the last time. And I don't know if I can promise that that's what's going to happen with my second book, but I think I'm also mentally learning how to take that pressure off. I think I was definitely afraid of the trade reviews, so like the Kirkus and the book list and the Publishers Weekly. I didn't want one of those reviews that's like sophomore book didn't live up to the debut's hype or anything like that. Like I just did
Right.
not want one of those. I've seen reviews like that that's like, "Oh, this follow-up is not as good as the first one." And I was like, "I just don't want one of those."
Ooh, yeah, yeah.
Haven't gotten one of those, thank God. So
I
so
don't
that
think
was all
you're
I
gonna get
wanted.
one of those. I honestly don't think you're gonna get one of those. For me, in my personal opinion, and those of you who follow me know that my opinion is awesome. So there we go.
Thank you. No, that was all I was hoping for was like no one saying, "Hey, this wasn't as good as the first one."
Yeah, no. I was definitely locked in. I was definitely locked in from beginning to end. It was like I was going on a journey, and I couldn't put it down till we was done. So I was like that. The book was awesome.
Thank you.
Um, Now you use tarot cards
Mhm.
as the
The
um
chapter headers.
yeah, and can you share how you arrived at that
Yeah.
idea?
Yeah, and it's so funny because that wasn't even in like the original draft, but I felt like something was missing. I have like this character that she's obviously struggling with like a lot of anxiety, and especially at the beginning of the book, and she doesn't really trust her own opinions, and she doesn't really trust, her own ability to make decisions. And so I was thinking about like what could I use as like a conception for, you know, almost like decision making or someone who's like relying on something outside of themselves. And it's funny because so like I do tarot, but like not to the obsessive degree that my main character does tarot. But like I do tarot, but like more like in like a guiding or like grounding sort of situation, like not necessarily for it to be prescriptive, but more for it to be grounding. But I also know how easily tarot can become prescriptive, and like I've seen people use it in that way before where it's like, oh my god, the card says this and so this is what's going to happen, and they start like freaking out and it gives them anxiety and they like need it for everything and they really see it as like this like almost like fortune telling. And I think I was thinking about how someone who already has anxiety would potentially lean into something. And I think tarot is something that could easily be leaned into in that way. And then on top of that, I think the cool thing about tarot cards too is that like you always see your tarot cards as like your decks as like having their own energy. If it's a new deck, you're supposed to kind of imbue it with your own energy. And over time, and the more that you use it, you kind of develop a relationship with your cards. And so there's this idea too that, like, if you have an inherited deck, you've also inherited the energy that came with the deck before. And so I also then thought to myself, like, how cool would it be if it was her mom's deck? Like how cool is it if it's her mom's deck and she's using it as this like connective thing, and she's hoping that, some of her mother's energy is still here in these cards. And so it makes her cling to it all the more for that decision making. So I was kind of just playing with those ideas, and I thought, and the thing is too, I thought it would be cool, like, and I did have to go back. I had to name the chapters after I wrote them because I wanted to figure out the kind of energy that the chapter carried and what card best fit with the energy of that chapter.
That's pretty dope. I dig that. Um, so the main character, I don't want to say her name wrong.
It's Jalea.
Leah. Okay, so I did have it right. I'm horrible with names. I mess them up all the time.
That's fair.
All the time. So I'd be like, oh, I'd be giving them different names or names that sound like I think they should be all the time. Um,
That's me. If I've never heard it out loud, it's like I cannot be held liable for whether or not I'm saying this right if I've never heard it said out loud.
right? Like you can't charge it to my whatever. So Jalea struggles with feeling like a tourist in Jamaica
Mhm.
in a place that should feel like home.
Mhm.
And India um said something that was that she argued that there's no single correct way to be Jamaican.
Mhm.
How did you approach writing about the complexities of cultural belonging and the feeling of being other than a place you're supposed to claim?
Yeah, so for me, diaspora is so interesting and important, and I think it means a lot to me as a first generation immigrant to write about diaspora, because I think we don't think enough about. I feel like we don't think enough about diasporic identity, and the ways in which those things envelop us, if that makes sense. And so when I think about when I think about it, right, it's like it's just the same way, I'll oftentimes like as black people, for example, we'll have like a lot of jokes where it's like, oh, you get this because you black. We understand things because we black. But at the same time, there is no one way to be black either at the same time. Like, we're not a monolith. Like, we do have like a lot of common shared experiences, but it also doesn't necessarily make us a monolith, right? Because there may be some black experiences that someone has had that another person hasn't had, and that shouldn't make them feel like they're less black, right? And even if we joke about it, right, that doesn't necessarily mean that it should be something that is prescriptive, right? So like, very, very like mild example, I make fun of my husband because he has not seen like a lot of like what I consider to be like formative black movies, like the things that played on BET all day.
Yeah.
um and so like he's seen like a few of them, right? Like he's seen all the Fridays, and he's seen like Baby Boy and things like that, but I'm like, you haven't seen Brown Sugar, you haven't seen Love and Basketball, you haven't seen like, yeah. And I'm like, you haven't seen a thin line between love and hate. Like, what is this? Right? and so because, and it's like, for me, I'm like, yeah, because my TV used to be on BET all day, so whatever was on was
Right.
whatever I was going to be watching. And so like, I'd make fun of him sometimes, right? But like, he'll make fun of me sometimes, right? Because also I had to do a lot of those things when I was older, because especially when I was younger, I wasn't tapped in as much to American culture, because
Mm.
really I was raised Jamaican. So even though I was raised in the US, I really was raised Jamaican. And so sometimes we'll have those moments where, I think even like the other day, he was singing a song, and I was like, I have no idea what you're singing. He's like, you know that song? I was like, I don't know what you're singing. And like, he put it on. It was like a song by like Ronald Isley. And he's like, you got to know this song. I was like, my mom did not listen to this. I have no idea what this is. I was like, I have no idea what this is. Like, zero clue what this is. Never heard it a day in my life. And sometimes that'll happen. Like, he'll reference like a song, and it's like an older song, like an older black song, and he's like, you know this, and I'm like, no, I don't. I really don't. Like, I
Um,
know, I know Bears Hammond, and I know Butch Banton, and I know Sanchez, and I know what my mom listened to at that time. And then even as I got older, I also listened to Jamaican music, but I also learned to incorporate American music as well. But like, for me, like, where he would have those formative experiences of like older black music playing because that's what his parents listened to. For
mhm.
me, I have the formative experience of Jamaican music playing because that's what my parents listened to. And so I think about that idea of exclusion, right? Like, how sometimes we can be exclusionary within ourselves and amongst each other, right? Because we'll say like, okay, like, you're not black, because you
Because
haven't done this. You're not black because you haven't done this, or you're not Jamaican because this, or you're not Jamaican because this. And it's that like how much are we hurting ourselves and how much are we hurting amongst ourselves to exclude each other in that way? And even though we may make jibes and it can be funny at times, sometimes it can start to sting a little bit, especially when you don't feel like you fit anywhere. And so that's the interesting thing about diaspora too, is that like for me as a Jamaican immigrant, like yeah, there were ways in which I could have been where I had been excluded on the American side or made fun of or anything like that for Jamaican habits. And then to then be told also by Jamaicans that you're too American, it's like, okay, so then where do you fit?
yeah, yeah, I dig that. I love that. And let me tell you, like, I felt like I was in Jamaica reading this book.
I love that. That's exactly the feeling I wanted people to have.
I definitely had that feeling, and then like as I was reading, and then the different music artists, like I had to go look at them on Spotify. Like I should call it the Lovers, Liars, and Me playlist.
I love it. And I have a playlist, and the playlist is actually pretty mixed. I wanted to make it all Jamaican music, but I made it pretty mixed. But I was really, really hoping that it would bring some people to new things and new experiences. That's why I named artists specifically. It's funny though, I also was trying to think a lot because I was thinking like for teenagers, I was trying to make sure that that I didn't name artists that
Right?
were too explicit.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna name Vibes Cartel because that might be a problem. So let me let me reel it in.
Let me like. Wait a minute.
Let me reel it in just in case the kids go look them up.
I definitely think they're gonna look them up because I looked them up, and I've been like I've
Yeah.
definitely been I definitely been rocking out.
So I had to be careful. I was like, let me not name people that are too explicit because some of the music can get a little explicit. So I was like, let me try to name artists that are somewhere in the middle.
Okay, like after this, you're gonna have to give me the explicit artist names so I can look them up too.
That's funny.
Um, there is a profound conversation between Siobhan, Jalea's cousin. I hope I
Hmm.
said his name right.
Hmm.
About queerness and the acceptability, I guess,
Hmm.
in the U.S. versus in Jamaica.
Hmm.
How important was it to show the intersection of location, privilege, um, and the queer experience in the two different places?
Yeah, and so I feel like that's so important for me, and I think anyone who's read kind of my first book knows that intersectionality is something that's really important to me, and the ways in which our identities can compound based on different factors. All of those things are really important to me, and so I really wanted to think about those differences, especially because it is true, and I think I also wanted to make it clear that it wasn't because I never wanted to make it seem as if it's a situation where if that's your identity in Jamaica that you're just gonna get attacked on the street, right? But it very, very much is like a not in my family sort of thing, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And it's not saying that that's not necessarily true in the US. I still think that that is true based on gender differences, even in the US, right? Where it can be, less and or more safe based off of gender, even here, right? But I think that's more so true in Jamaica, where I think, especially for women, it's not taken as seriously or it's seen in a way that's fetishized. So that offers a false sense of protection only because it's not necessarily going to be taken as seriously, whereas it's taken more seriously if you're male. And if you're male, and I did think that that was something that I wanted to touch on and something that I wanted to explore, only because I thought about initially it just being her who who was showing up as queer, but then I was like, you know what, no, I really think it'd be interesting to talk about the differences, and especially the ability that she has, in the US where, and I think it's hard because obviously you want to say that you make great strides, but obviously there are still more strides to make, right? But it doesn't mean that we have not made more strides than people have made in other places. And sometimes that's important to acknowledge.
You know, definitely, I agree with that. The novel deeply explores the concept of family, both biological and chosen.
Mm-hmm.
We see the idea of other mothering from Jalea's father, teacher, and her aunt Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Challenging the traditional definition of motherhood, what message did you hope readers would take away about the bonds we're born into versus the ones we chose?
Yeah, that was so important to me. I love a found family. I love, like, if we're talking tropes, I love a found family trope. I think it means a lot to me because I think that I have found family, throughout my lifetime, and that has meant a lot to me. And I think that's the reason why I love it so much. But I think also, the one thing that I think is that it's also very, very cultural, like this idea of like of other mothering. There is a cultural aspect to that is so rooted in blackness across the world, where we will take on other people's kids. We will take on, we will kind of adopt everybody, right? And I think that you see that culturally, even with something as simple as the ways in which we'll say somebody's invited to the cookout. That is its own version of other mothering, right? Us
Mm.
saying, well, if they won't have you, we'll take you, right? We will envelop you, we will take you, we will take care of you, we will embrace you, right? And that's so rooted in blackness across the world, that I thought it was so important to incorporate in this book that is so rooted in the diaspora. The idea that truthfully, we don't just have our own mothers, right? Like, I was mothered by my mother, I was mothered by my grandmother, I was mothered by so many people, right? I was mothered by cousins that I called my aunts, because that is what we do when they're older than you. That's what we do when they're my mother's age and you're my cousin, you're my aunt now. Um, if you my mama age, you not my cousin, you're my aunt. I'm not calling you by your first name. Um,
I
and
like it.
and so it is one of those things where you find yourself mothered by so many people, and the truth is, even the ways in which we raise our kids is so community oriented, right? And I felt like it was just important to have that, because it's not just the ways in which she's mothered by the people that are older than you, that are older than her, but she's also very, very much mothered by the people around her that are even her age, right? The ways in which we just take people and we adopt people and we envelop people in that way. And I just love that. It's like I said, like, I would be black in every lifetime. And so I love that about us, and I love the ways in which we will, like I said, just like adopt people. And so I think it was important for her to realize that too, to realize that, even though she's been looking for something, she was looking for something that she kind of already had. And sometimes it's hard to see that, sometimes it's hard to see that because you're only paying attention to what's missing. So I was really wanting to incorporate all of those ways in which she was getting the things that she needed, even though she didn't see it.
I loved it. I loved it, of course. As an openly autistic, ne- nar-
Neurodivergent.
thank you,
That's
thank
okay.
you so much. I appreciate that. Um, Arthur, how does your neurodivergence shape the way you view the world and build your characters?
Yeah. I feel like I feel like it's hard because I feel like even when I'm trying to write a neurotypical character, they probably always have some level of neurodivergence because I don't know how to like, I don't know. I'm trying to like separate that. I'm trying to like, and I think that that can be really difficult. Um, but I definitely think it makes me think about how people move through the world. Because I think so many people, especially when you move through the world in a way with ease, it never makes you actively think about how to move through the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think when you don't move through the world with ease, you are always thinking about how, not just how you move through the world, but how other people move through the world. And so I think that that kind of makes me pay attention to characters, and I think it makes me pay attention to people. And I think that, I don't know, I think it does kind of give me an ability to like tap in a little bit to different people's experiences, even if they're not necessarily like my specific experiences. and I think it allows me to create like really well-rounded characters, which I hope at least. But I think it allows me to create dynamic, well-rounded characters when I'm thinking about, well, if this is your background and this is your the way that you live, how does that alter how you might react to the world? Because I think about those things, right? Because like my entire life, I had to like overthink how I was moving through the world. I had to overthink it, right? I had to think like, okay, people are not responding well to this. Other people are responding well to this. I see people responding well to this person the way that they behave. Maybe I need to change up so that people can respond well to me. Like that's always how I've thought about things, right? If people didn't respond well to me, I looked to people who did get good responses and I thought about how I could mimic that. That is masking 101. But but I think that that also just makes you constantly just think about, okay, well, why am I not moving through the world easily? How am I not moving through the world easily? Why is it being impacted? How is it being impacted? How is it impacting the people around me? How is it impacting me? And then I start thinking about other facets. And so I guess it just allows me to kind of like tap into my character's mental states a little bit more, and just really think about kind of like the how and the why and, you know, kind of create, I don't know, I guess some cause and effect with my characters when I'm thinking about those things.
Definitely love that. One of the things that Jalea does when she's anxious is sort of, I tapped into that immediately because it's sort of like a thing that I do, right? So she pulls her fingers,
Hmm.
and I like play with my beard hair, or I pick at my fingers whenever I'm anxious, or because I'm dyslexic and I have ADHD, and so, and then if I'm in large spaces with where there's like one too many people in it, I start to rock back and forth a little bit, or I
Yeah.
do stuff like that. So I was like, oh, I get it, I get it.
Yeah, you kind of have like your little stems and like your little, and whether those stems are because of anxiety or because of ADHD or because of autism, like we all, like a lot of us have ways that we're coping with things, and that is her coping mechanism. And I think we all have them. Like for me, like I was like I'm a perpetual like nail biter and cuticle picker, so like now I like wear falsies all the time so that I can leave my fingers alone. So like it's the only way I can like leave my fingers alone, or else I'm like messing with them when I get nervous.
Hey, we had to be figuring out a way. You
Yeah.
know, you know what I'm saying? Like we gotta figure out a way to get through it. I tell you.
And even then with them, I'll still like go like this. So like when I'm like anxious, I'll still like, but at least it's not messing up my own nails.
See, there you go.
Find ways around it.
Best of both worlds. What's next? Without giving away too much,
Ooh.
what's next?
That's always such a hard question because I'm always like, what am I allowed to say? um, I definitely have something coming next. I feel like I can maybe say that. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll get in trouble. Oops.
Okay.
Um, I definitely have something coming next. I am going to be continuing to write for young adults and teens. And I think the fun thing about, I guess the most that I can say is that the fun thing about my next book is that it's going to feel like a really fun return to form for anyone who read my first book.
Ooh,
Um, and I think I definitely think that like I think that anyone who liked both of these books would like the third one. I do think it's a little bit funnier, but of course, like with me, nothing is ever just straight up funny. It is. I'm always gonna throw a little bit of tragedy in there, probably make you cry somewhere, because that is my way. And so yeah, I think it'll be a fun return to form for anyone who really liked my first book. But I had a lot of fun working on it. See, I guess I'm putting that on the air. It's already I've already worked on it, so I've had a lot of fun working on it, and I don't know, I like it a lot. And so I hope when everyone does finally see it, they will also like it a lot.
I'm sure that they will. All right. Last question. So you are an avid reader, clearly.
Yes. Oh, I do have all these books behind me.
Clearly. What would you what because we do black, brown, queer authors here, right? So what black, brown, queer author would you recommend my people pick up?
Camilla Cole,
Yes.
without hesitation.
Yes.
Without hesitation, Camilla Cole.
Why Camilla Cole? I know why. I know why I would pick
Oh my
Camilla
God,
Cole.
amazing! There are zero reasons to not. There are zero reasons to not. Camilla's books are amazing. I mean, hands down amazing. The world building's always awesome. I teach creative writing, and I even when we were doing first chapters the other day, I pulled the first chapter of an arcane inheritance to teach my fantasy students how to write a good first like fantasy chapter, especially for a book in which like you don't get all of the fantasy elements up front. Like how can you introduce that something strange is happening without giving all of the fantasy in case you want like a start that's like not as in your face. And so I was trying to give them like different examples. But 100% Camilla, I mean, I am always insanely impressed with her writing, always insanely impressed with her books. They are always instant favorites. I've read everything that she's written, and I've never regretted a single book. Camilla Cole, hands down. And I'm not just saying that because she's also Jamaican.
I'm about to say now, are we a little biased? No.
I'm not just saying that because she's also Jamaican. I'm genuinely saying that because Camilla's books are just top notch.
Which would be your favorite Camilla Cole book?
I don't know. Maybe I have recency bias, so I'm saying Arcane Inheritance and Arcane Inheritance. So maybe I have recency bias, but it is just it's so good. I love a
It
dark
is.
academia book,
It
and
is.
it's just so good. Like the prologue is amazing. Like I love and I love like a good like enemies. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I love it. I can't. I eat that up.
I would say the same though. Like that would be my favorite, and probably the next book will be my next favorite.
Wicked Endeavors. I'm so excited for Wicked Endeavors. No, Camilla's books are amazing.
Yeah, so it's like every book becomes my favorite until her next book comes out. Then that becomes my favorite.
That's me
So,
too.
you know. All right, y'all. We coming to the end. This was awesome, awesome. Now listen, by the time you guys see this, The Lovers, Liars, and Me will already be out. Y'all see that cover though?
I love the cover. I thought I loved my first cover, and then the cover for this one came out, and I was like, I may not love anything as much as I love this.
The
Like,
cover is
what now?
the cover is Chef's Kiss.
It is
I
gorgeous.
I went to a silent book club here, and so and then at the end you had to put your book down, and then everybody takes a picture of the book, and I put my book down, and it was like, oh,
Right. It's so, oh my goodness. Like, genuinely, shout out to my cover artist, Odasanya. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Like, genuinely, I am obsessed with my cover. It's gorgeous.
yes, definitely. I'm like the one lady was trying to take it, and I was like, no,
You can't have this.
you can't have this, because I had finished while we were at silent book club, and she was like, I was like, no,
That don't mean you can take it.
right, no, you got June 23rd. You could buy your own. I'm just saying, like.
Gonna have to get your own.
You're gonna have to get your own, and y'all gonna have to get your own because this book comes out June 23rd. But like I said, by the time you guys see this, the book will already be out in the world. So if you have not already purchased this book, I'm gonna need you to go wherever you get your books from and buy it immediately. Like, leave now, go get the book. It's also the book that I'll be reviewing in July's magazine.
Oh,
So y'all make sure y'all hit the review and go buy the book. So that's our time now. So we are out of here. Thank you so much, DeAndra, for hanging with me and having conversation. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you got to come back when the next book drops.
100%.
Absolutely. All right. Y'all know the drill. Do your boy a favor and go read a book. All right. Hit the button.